Hey, it's Pastor Doug and Pastor Luke here. We just want to take a few minutes to provide some description on what prayer and fasting is and hopefully provide some clarity on how we're prepared to walk through this time with you. And we're excited to see how God moves during this time. And I just want to, Luke, if you could please share with me, um, imagine that I was brand new to Grace Life Church
Okay.
and I've never been through a corporate prayer and fasting time. How does this look for Grace Life, and how do we handle this time of prayer and fasting?
It's a great question, Doug. So, what I would encourage you and coming into this time is, you know, prayer and fasting twofold, right? Prayer, probably a lot of us, if you're new, if you're coming in, we probably think we don't do it quite as good as that person or someone else. And so our prayer life, we see very clearly that we want to be a pray first church. We want to have prayer be the foundation of what we do. Anything that we do, we are praying first before we are taking a step and doing something because we want God to speak and we want to know that it is His plan and it's His will that we're walking in. So with our prayer, whether you've never prayed before, or maybe you're new coming in and you're like, I've been praying for decades and you have a history, I would say this time it's hopefully just an opportunity wherever we're at on our prayer journey that we would take another step, right? That we would
Right.
help that be the thing. Fasting, there's a couple different things with fasting. Now, scripturally, we see fasting is denying ourselves physically of food, and so there's an element of removing something from our life, but it's also replacing it with something else. So, what I would encourage is seeking the Lord that, during this time of prayer and fasting, if you're planning on fasting from food the entire time, I would caution you actually really need to consult your doctor and to think physically of different things to be able to do that. It's possible, but not something you just want to jump into without being aware. Maybe it's more that you're considering I'm gonna fast from food one meal per day. And again, fasting would be not just I'm not going to eat and I'm going to work through lunch, but it would actually be that during my lunch break, I'm going to actually replace my physical nourishment of eating lunch or food with spiritual nourishment. I'm going to maybe pray, maybe put on some worship music, read my Bible, things like that. Maybe it's not one meal per day. Maybe you're thinking, I'm going to fast a whole day, maybe per week or something like that. I would encourage you to try to be specific with a goal to say, maybe you've never fasted at all ever from food. Start with one meal and see what the Lord does in that. And maybe then you decide for the next week, I'm going to do a whole day. And who knows what that ends up looking like. But I'm excited to see how we can walk together in that journey of our prayer life, steps we can take, as well as fasting, whether from food, which is scripturally what we see, and replacing it with spiritual nourishment, or maybe you say, you know, one of the things we talk about a lot of times is I just am so busy, I don't have time. So maybe in this time you say, I'm going to actually replace and I'm going to take away something I'm used to putting on the news at night or watching a show or something like that. And I'm going to replace that and put that in its place, something within my prayer life or my spiritual journey. So it could also be a replacement within screen time or social media. You maybe take a break during this time and you're saying, I'm going to replace from what I would normally spend social media, Amazon, right? Shopping, who knows, whatever it may be, replacing it with something that would just be fruitful with our spiritual nourishment. Um, that would be a few things I would say consider. And again, try to be specific with your goal and set one. And as you hit it and just are processing, maybe you're setting another one, and maybe it's a little different than the first one and seeking the Lord through that.
That's great. So what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of opportunity for it to be different for you and different for me and really different for any one of these people that might participate in this.
100%. We all have different elements. Some of us have health things, considerations that make it difficult to actually abstain from food, and some of us, uh, our lifestyle or our job or different things, it doesn't allow for space in certain times of the day and stuff. So it might be early in the morning before your day gets rolling. It might be late at night. Maybe you work night shifts and it's got to be after you've slept. And, so everybody, it's unique, but yet the Lord is going to be in it and with us, whether we're seeking Him in the morning, midday, or evening. He's not bound by time, He's not bound by any scheduling. He's with us through the whole thing.
That's great. So during this 21 days of prayer and fasting that we're going to enter into, can you describe to me what what the details are on how we're going to come together as a church and to be able to walk through this time?
That's a great question. So, corporately, something we've done that we're going to do a little different is noon to 1 in the sanctuary, which is where we're at actually on the stage. We're going to be doing the same kind of prayer and worship that we did last year. It was only last year we did it like during the week, and then weekend was different. This year we decided to try to accommodate people that maybe have work schedules that don't allow for the noon to 1 time during the week. Saturday and Sunday, every day of the prayer and fasting, noon to 1 in the sanctuary. We're gonna do that corporately. So you'll be welcome to come. You can park, come in. You'll walk into the sanctuary. It's going to have kind of an atmosphere of prayer. There's going to be someone probably doing live music, and from that, you can find a spot in the sanctuary and be able to just engage with what is being sung or shared. There may be some prayer points that someone would share from the front, but then there's another thing that we're doing is we've got prayer guides, and that prayer guide would be something that as we come in or as we're doing this, that we would encourage everybody to engage with and to walk through, read through, almost like a toolbox of things we can use to combat or fight against the enemy and the lies he would maybe have or different things.
Uh-huh. You mentioned toolbox. I like tools. Just can you talk about the prayer guide a little bit and what do you mean by toolbox and what this is going to provide for us?
Yes, you and I were in Alabama together
Yeah,
not long
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
So Highlands Church in Alabama was where this 21 days of prayer and fasting kind of came from. And Pastor Doug went 2 years ago when he was on his sabbatical, brought that back. We started implementing it, and we went as a team this last summer, and it was a great time. We got to kind of witness what they did for their prayer and fasting and what that looked like. And so they gave us the document that they had for this prayer guide. We turned it into Grace Life. So this is our prayer guide that we're providing. That they have two different ways to walk through this guide. This toolbox, right, that has a lot of powerful different elements and pieces with it. It really has a lot of teaching and instruction and how to pray scripture is what I just opened to, and how we can, if I have anxiety, I can read, not be anxious about everything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. If I want to replace anxiety, I got to put something that's true in its place. So there's different things through this whole guide that's going to really help, hopefully, everybody to be able to replace different things that we maybe are feeling with God's truth, as well as kind of a personal journal. People we're praying for within our job, within our family, people that we're praying for that we want to know God, right? That's one of the big things. We want to have a heart that is broken for the lost, that we want people to know God, right? To be able to find that freedom, to discover their purpose, and to make a difference. So, this guide is a physical guide that I know a lot of people they like having something to hold, to touch, feel. Hopefully when you see it and you feel it, you say, wow,
That's nice.
it's
High
nice,
quality
right?
paper.
High quality. So the goal with this is that it's actually going to be used every year. So this is something that we're going to have around throughout the year. Every year we're going to have them. And our desire would be that everybody that would take one, each adult would have one of their own to have their different things they're praying for and stuff. It would maybe sit next to the chair where they pray or they read their Bible, or maybe it sits on their bookshelf as a resource, something in the toolbox. So physical as well as digital. There's Highlands Resources made an app called Pray First. I could say a lot of things about it, but they made a video that's really helpful. It kind of shares the vision as well as what it has to do. Everything that's in this physical book is in this digital app, even music. If you are doing your prayer and fasting with that app, you can put some instrumental music on to be able to just kind of have that atmosphere wherever you're at in the moment. So let's watch that video and then we'll come back.
Pray First is a focused prayer experience in both English and Spanish that allows you to follow along with different models of prayer. It includes prayer guides, special songs written specifically for the prayer experience, and resources to help anyone learn more about prayer and fasting. While there is no art to prayer, it's simply talking with God. There are some ways we can pray that can help us better connect from the natural to the supernatural. We hope that this app will help you, your family, and your friends to pray with more faith, more intention, and more frequency. And it's our prayer that this app would be a blessing to you. It's available today, totally free, on your app store or at prayfirstapp.com.
Wow. As you can see, Highlands Church has prepared that app that helps us walk through the prayer and fasting. We've got this physical guide. They see this, and we come alongside Highlands and see this as an investment into our church body. We're excited to see what God does through this time. This all comes together on January 26th. We're going to have an encounter night at 6:30 p.m. This is going to be a time of celebration, time of worship, and we're also going to have water baptisms that evening. If you have an interest in water baptism, feel a conviction to take that step, you can find a form online or come find us at Starting Point. We'd love to walk through that with you and help you prepare for that step of obedience. And we are just so excited to see what God does through this time, 21 days prayer and fasting starting January 5th.